I hate it. Good morning, everybody. Making sure we are good. Checking in on every app. Good morning, YouTube. We are good. Good morning, Rumble. Good morning, X. Good morning, Facebook. Good morning, LinkedIn. I'm live on all these platforms, by the way. Good morning, Instagram. Good morning, TikTok. Whatever platform you're on, make sure you're subscribed to my YouTube channel. That's the one for now, that's where we got everything at. So anything that I've done in the past is housed at YouTube, and all the lives are also on Rumble. So make sure you are following me on Rumble and YouTube, just in case anything happens to any one of these other apps. We know that the government's threatening TikTok. So make sure if you're following me on TikTok, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. The link is in my profile on TikTok. Topic here today is immigration. Is immigration over? Is it a wrap? Is it going to be impossible? Soul Art New York, good morning on Instagram. Is it going to be impossible for anybody to enter the United States who is not already here? Are we just closing the gates, not letting anybody else into the country? That's the topic here today. Just last week, I did a live on immigration and how America has kind of dropped the ball on immigration in general, not so much in not allowing it, but allowing it to be a little bit too rampant, and comparing the way we do immigration here to the way but other countries do immigration, is that we kind of don't really have a whole lot of standards or set rules for how our immigration works, or at least we hadn't. Damn sure not during the Biden-Harris administration. However, what we're going to talk about here today is what may be changing under the now Trump-Vance administration, and why, and what we think about it. That's what we're going to talk about here today. So just to let you all know the format for how I do these streams, I usually give you about 45 to 60 minutes of content. I'm going to go over the points that I want to make. And then after that, I'm going to respond to your comments. I will respond to your comments and questions and feedback. You do not need to agree with anything that I say. You don't have to agree with everything that I say. If you have some pushback, feel free to offer it. Just bring some substance, be respectful, and I will happily engage with you if you happen to disagree with me. And if you agree with me, that's good too. Make sure you let me know you agree with me as well. And let me introduce myself. For those who don't know me, my name is Dre Baldwin. Many know me as Dre all day. I'm a former 9-year professional athlete, author of 40 books. I just did an official count yesterday just to make sure how many books we have out there. It's actually 40. I was saying 35. It's actually 40 now. I created this brand called Work on Your Game. What we do here is we help people with achieve their highest level of performance, do so consistently, because you don't want to perform good on Monday, but then be average on Tuesday through Friday. Consistency of high performance, and then producing your highest level of results. Because the only reason we want to perform is so that we actually get the results that we want, and you produce results, then you get the rewards that you want. That's what our business is all about. You can learn more about that at the links that you'll see in my profile, such as workonyourgameuniversity.com. What we're talking about here today, though, is about how immigration is over and what we do in our business. Because a lot of people ask me generally, if I had to put it into one word, is consulting, or we could say coaching. And as I just said, helping people with their highest level of possible performance. I do not work in the government. I am not connected or affiliated with any political party. I am not a lawyer. And people often ask me these questions, so I'm just knocking these out from the beginning, but I'm sure I have to say it again before we get done with this live stream. So let's get into it. As I said, I'm going to take all questions and comments at the end after I go through this content. Let's start here. Let's get clear on how immigration has been working here in America. We all know that Donald Trump, when he first ran for office about 10 years ago, Donald Trump was all about America first. He made some incendiary comments about who other countries, like the country to the south of us, Mexico, was sending people here. And he made some comments that people really didn't like. as he was characterizing that a lot of the people coming from Mexico were not good people, that they were coming out of the prisons and they were negative people and they weren't coming here to bring any value to the table. Now, is that 100% true? No. Is it partially true? Yes. And people who were here doing positive things really didn't like that he said that, or people who were in support of it didn't like that he said that. And the whole point of it was Donald Trump was using that as a metaphor, as a frame to pitch to Americans that, hey, we're going to keep so many people who are not here from coming in here, and they're threatening your communities, they're threatening your jobs, they're threatening your well-being. And he did a great job of framing that up to the point that he drew a clear line between where he stood on immigration and where his opponent stood on immigration, which is the entire point of politics. For those of you who don't understand, the point of politics is not to be truthful, is not necessarily to be factual. It damn sure isn't to be logical or objective. The point of politics is to draw a clear line between yourself and your opponent so that the voters have to make it clear. They have clarity rather when it comes to their decision between you and your opposition. That's the point of politics. For those of you who don't know, and those of you get so caught up in quote unquote fact checking, which is a nonsense term. That's not really what politics is about. Politics is not about facts. Politics is about frames. And frame means I'm framing myself as about this, and I'm framing my opponent as about that. And you, voter, have to make a clear choice between me and them, because I'm making it very clear what I'm about and what they're about. That's the whole purpose of politics. Donald Trump is a master at creating frames. And the reason why he's so good at creating frames is because he's willing to say things that most politicians are not willing to say. Therefore, he can occupy whatever ground that he wants. His opponents are unable to occupy that same ground because they don't have the balls or the temerity to say the things that Donald Trump would say. And if you want to see someone who does this in a more smooth way, look at Barack Obama. He's very good at doing the exact same thing. He just does it with a different approach, but they both achieve the exact same outcome. So for those of you who have gotten caught up in the factfulness of what happens in politics, you are running the wrong race. That's not the way politics works. I'm saying all that to continue on my first point here. Donald Trump made it clear that he's not with bringing in masses of people from outside of the country. He's all about America first, make America great again. I'm focusing on Americans who are already here. All of us agree with that. All of us understand that. Whether you believe it's a good thing or a bad thing, we all can agree that's what Donald Trump is about. Okay, is anybody confused about that? No, nobody's confused about it. So whenever I talk about Donald Trump and I say that he's a really great speaker, you often get people who don't like Donald Trump saying, well, he's not a great speaker. He's not good. He only talks to the lowest level of people's thinking, et cetera, et cetera. Let me help you all understand another thing. Public speaking is not about being smart. It is not about using the biggest words. It's not about going over the top of the heads of your audience. Public speaking is about getting your point across to the audience so that they completely understand exactly where you stand and there is no confusion. That's the purpose of public speaking. No one can say, even if you hate Donald Trump, no one can say you've ever heard him speak and you didn't know where he stood and exactly what he was saying. No one can ever say that. That's the point of public speaking. The point of public speaking is not to use the biggest words and have the smartest thing, or even to get everybody to agree with you. The point is to get everybody to understand you. Barack Obama was great at this. Donald Trump is great at it. And all the other presidents who've won over the last 25 years, they all been great at it. George W. Bush was great. Obama was great. Trump was great. Biden was okay. He wasn't terrible. He was okay. And Kamala Harris was very bad. That's the reason. One of the main reasons why Kamala lost is that she is not a good public speaker. And if she is ever going to get back to the position that she was at, that got handed to her in 2024, she would have to get better at public speaking. She's going to have to compete against a whole bunch of other opponents. And I do not believe she has the ability to do so, which is why I said we're not going to see her at this level again because of her lack of public speaking ability. And often, if you just look at the 100 or so days that Kamala was in the Democratic nomination ticket, there were many times that Kamala talked and people were like, wait, what exactly is she saying? Is she double speaking? She said this over here and then she's saying this over here. And she's kind of talking around things. And every politician has to do this. Any politician gets asked a question that they don't want to answer. You have to find a way to kind of work around the question without directly answering it, because answering it directly might make you look bad. Every politician has to have that skill. And Trump and Obama have that skill in spades. Bill Clinton had it. Hillary was okay at it. Kamala Harris was not very good at this, where she was doing the same thing that they were doing, but she wasn't smooth with it. Barack Obama was extremely smooth. Donald Trump's pretty smooth at it. He's more blunt, but he's still smooth at doing it. He still gets his point across. And in politics, any type of public speaking, folks, this is the goal. This is what you're supposed to be doing. So again, I want to say for the third time, those of you who are anti-Trump or you don't like Trump or whatever politician you don't like, it's not about whether what they're saying is true or factual. It's not about that. Facts do not matter. Let me say that again. Facts do not matter. What matters is influence, persuasion, and framing. The way you get people to support you is to influence them and persuade them by framing an issue in a way that the people that you're talking to agree with your frame. And if they disagree with your frame, then they vote against you. If they agree with your frame, they vote for you. That's what public speaking is about. That's what politics is all about. So again, those of you who get caught up in this fact checking nonsense, you're running the wrong race. This is not a college campus. This is not some academic university. In those places, being factual matters. In these places like politics, facts do not matter at all. Anyway, continuing on my point. Since we all know where Trump stands on immigration, he's all about limiting immigration and focusing on the people who are already here. There's this app called the CBP1 app. This app was basically allowing, and I'm painting with a very broad brush here, it was allowing immigrants who were trying to come into the United States to basically set an appointment with border officials that would allow them to be granted what they call legal status. So these people are not illegal immigrants. These people who have been coming into our country over the last, let's just say during the Biden administration, 4 years of the Biden administration. Actually, before I even get into this app, let me give you all the frame so you understand this. When Donald Trump, became president in 2017, technically, he basically issued a bunch of executive orders, which really started to staunchly defend the laws at the border. The United States has laws when it comes to immigration. We have rules when it comes to the border, and certain things that we allow, certain things that we don't allow. Basically, what Donald Trump did when he became president is he made those rules and laws extremely tight. So it was very hard to come into the country as an immigrant between 2017 and 2020 during Trump's first administration. He made it very difficult to get into the country during those 4 years. Relatively speaking, compared to Joe Biden, when he became president in 2021, he basically issued a whole bunch of executive orders that undid Donald Trump's executive orders and basically loosened the rules at the border. Again, I'm painting with a very broad brush here. You want to read into the details of this, you go on the internet and you can read about it. This is what happened, though. Joe Biden loosened all the rules during his first 30 days in the administration. He loosened all the rules on the border. And this is the reason why immigration went up significantly during the 4 years of the Biden-Harris administration, because he loosened the rules at the border. It was much easier to come into the country as an immigrant during this previous 4 years than it was during Trump's 4 years. Now, what Donald Trump is doing, and actually, let me back up. The CBP1 app is an app that basically allowed someone who is coming into the country as an immigrant to set an appointment that would allow them to be granted what they call legal status. So you're in the country, you have not become a citizen yet, but you have legal status. So this is legal. So it's not like they're committing a crime, and these people are not illegal immigrants, so we can't call them that. But what happened is Joe Biden basically, I'm putting this in very simple terms, he created a loophole that allowed immigrants to come into this country without going through the same channels and the same process that many of you, maybe some of you who are listening to this, who are American citizens and you came here as an immigrant, or you have family members who came here as immigrants. There was a long, arduous process you had to go through to get legal status or to become a citizen in this country. It's a long process. Any of you who's become a citizen here, how long did it take? Or you have a family member who became a citizen, how long did that take? Whatever the amount is, I've asked this question before on my live streams. Answer most people give is years. It took years to become a citizen in America or to get legal status or whatever the situation was. And it's an arduous process. A lot of paperwork, is appointments, is waiting, is being on the phone on hold. There's all these things you got to do to become a citizen. What this CBP1 app is allowing people to do is to get this legal status in a matter of days or weeks, as opposed to the years that it took many other people to get citizenship. And this is why, again, so many people were able to flood into the country. The Biden-Harris administration was okay with this. They wanted this. They were allowing this. Now, there's a big question about why would they want to do this. I'll get to that in a minute. But this app, when Trump became president on Monday, I'm recording this on today's Wednesday, right? So on Monday, when Trump became president at 12 o'clock, all of a sudden the app stopped working. This happened in real time. The app stopped working as soon as Trump got sworn in. And there were people who had come to the border, our southern border, and they had appointments to meet with whoever the agents that would get them, hopefully, the legal status and allow them to enter the country, entree into the United States. And what happened is their appointments got canceled and the app was no longer functioning. So you saw this if you are following all y'all on social media right now. But if you follow this stuff on social media, there were viral videos going around of people, migrants who are trying to come into the country, sitting at the border, now stonewalled because their appointments got canceled. They can't go have the meeting and they can't get legal status. Therefore, they can't come into the country, sitting there distraught and crying and in tears because they're like, well, I can't, my appointment got canceled. I can't get into the country. What the hell am I going to do now? This was what was happening just this past Monday because this app all of a sudden got shut down and people were acting as if, of course, people who don't like Donald Trump, they were acting and framing this, because that's really what we got to keep calling this, framing it as if this was some sort of tragedy, that now these people can't come into the country because they shut down this app and these people are trying to come here to get a better life. They go on with the emotional guilt trip. So this is not a tragedy. All right, I'm going to make sure all of you understand. It's not a tragedy that they shut down this legal status app that wasn't allowing people to get into the country anymore. And this whole thing, legal status. If you remember the presidential debates, there were only two debates, right? There was one between Vance and Walz, and there was one between Trump and Kamala Harris, right? During that time, there was supposed to not be fact checks, especially during the vice president debate. I remember they announced that there will be no fact checking. And when J.D. Vance made a comment about people being in the country illegally, he said something along those lines. He used the word illegal. And the moderators who were supposed to not be fact checking, this clip went viral on social media. One of the moderators said, well, I want to basically make it clear to everybody that those migrants that you're talking about, they do have legal status. And J.D. Vance said, excuse me, moderator, y'all are supposed to not be fact checking. And then people were taking that clip and saying, oh, well, he doesn't like being fact checked because he knows he's lying. But the point is they weren't supposed to be fact checking. I'm bringing that up to say the moderators were pointing out, and they used this exact term. They said these immigrants have legal status. What does that mean? These immigrants have legal status. What it means is, again, the government created this loophole that allowed these people to be in the country in a way that previously was not available. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you could not get into the country through this legal loophole. The Biden-Harris administration opened this legal loophole so that these people could be in the country, technically legally. They're not illegal. And this is how, again, we were able to get so many because it was such a quick process. That's why I asked all of you, any of you who's come into this country or had a family member come into this country through the old or the normal, let's call it, immigration process, how long did it take? It took a long time, but these people were getting in very quick. That's why we were able to get so many. So technically, you could not call these people illegal because they're not illegal. They have legal status. At the same time, they had legal status. It's still nonsense based on what I just explained to you. And this is why Trump was able to shut it down with one stroke of his pen, as they say, by basically undoing what the things that Biden opened up. That's what Donald Trump did. He undid the things that Biden set up. So now we move to my next point. Thomas Sowell is an author that any of you is not familiar with. Thomas Sowell, you should look him up. He's written probably 80 books. He's written a bunch of books. He's probably in his 90s right now. And one of the things that I heard Thomas Sowell say once is that when people are used to preferential treatment, and then you stop treating them preferentially and just start treating them normally, it feels like injustice. Let me say that again. When people are used to preferential treatment and then you start treating them normally, you just remove the preferential treatment, just give them normal treatment, it feels like you're hurting them. It feels like injustice. Right? It feels like you're doing something wrong to them. And this is what has happened at the border. This is the reason why so many people who don't like Trump are able to frame this situation that's happening right now, because all Trump did was say, okay, we're not going to have the loophole that allows you to get legal status quickly. Now you just got to get legal status the normal way, the way that everybody had to for the last X number of years. We're just going to do it the normal way now. No more preferential treatment to just let migrants come in here and let so many people come in here so quickly. That's all Donald Trump did, was just close the legal loophole. And now they come in here, you just got to do it the normal way. Now it feels like injustice because people were used to the preferential treatment of being able to get in here quick. That's all that happened. Even if you don't like Donald Trump, even if you are anti-Trump, you're never Trump, whatever it is you want to call him, all of those things, all right, this is not disputable. It's just the normal process now that you can't just come over here, fill out some information on an app, and now you get legal status, and 2 weeks later you're in the country doing whatever you want to do. That's never the way it's been. So Trump doing this, again, people are framing it because they don't like Donald Trump, because people are emotional about this, and because there are a bunch of people who already hate Donald Trump. So anything they hear that goes along the lines of more reasons to hate Donald Trump, they'll just buy into it. All right, this is why it works. This is why it's such a hot topic, because there are a bunch of people who already don't like Trump. So anything negative you tell them about Trump, they'll buy into it because that's what they want to hear anyway. They already want to hear it. So if you just tell them more negative stuff, then they'll buy into it. So as I said, normal treatment feels like injustice when you're used to preferential treatment. So how long does it take, as I said, to gain citizenship? Many of you have answered the question. How long did it take? It took years, not weeks, not days. So if you don't understand the big picture, again, now here's the big picture. Now, this is just my opinion. This is just my theory. Any of you want to contest this or agree with it, you let me know. Here's my theory. Because the question becomes, let's just say Biden opened this loophole and now you can get into the country quicker. Now more migrants are coming to the country. Why does Joe Biden or Kamala Harris care about more immigrants coming into America? That's an important question. Why do they care? Because anytime somebody's doing something that doesn't seem to make sense to you, you got to find out, why does it make sense for them to do it? What do they get from doing this? The question is, who benefits? Why does Donald Trump benefit from making the border tighter and allowing fewer people in? I know what Donald Trump benefits. He benefits because his whole campaign was based on, again, positioning himself against his opponents. So when it was clear that his opponents want more immigrants, all he had to do to draw a clear line was look around. What do the people in America want? Maybe he noticed that the people in America, people who are already here, don't want more immigrants. So all he had to do was get on their side by saying, I'm going to shut down the border. And all he did was draw a clear line of delineation between him and his opponent. That's great strategy. That's political strategy. Again, politics is all about framing. It's not about facts. So all frame. Now, the question is, on the other side of the aisle, why would let's say the Democratic Party, let's say Joe Biden, Barack Obama, let's say Biden and Harris, why would they want more immigrants in the country? This question must be answered. And again, I'm going to give my theory on why they want to bring more immigrants into the country. Here's my answer. I believe, again, this is just my theory. I'm not floating this as fact. I believe that they are looking to, in the long term, not over 4 years, because 4 years is not enough time, but over the long term, they want to increase the Democratic voter base in America. That's what I believe they're trying to do. Again, this is just my theory. Again, I'm not stating this as fact. Now, let me explain to you why I believe this theory. Let me back up my theory. If you listen to Kamala Harris speak during the 2024 campaign after she replaced Joe Biden, here's one of the phrases that she used often. You might have heard her say this. She often used the phrase path to citizenship. She would say that, path to citizenship. What exactly does that mean? She would say this on the back end of talking about immigration in America. We want to bring more immigrants in. We want to make this a melting pot and open for everybody. Democrats have been saying that phrase for decades. That's not new. She just extended it. And then she kept using this phrase, path to citizenship. What exactly does that mean? Well, citizenship means people can do things like voting. People can do there's other things that you get access to when you're a citizen that you don't get when you have quote unquote legal status. That path to citizenship would increase the voter base in America for Democrats. Now, why would these migrants who now have citizenship, why would they vote for the Democrats? Well, that's an important question, too. We got to answer that. Because if I come into the country as a migrant, I get legal status, and then I become a citizen, well, I could vote for the Republicans, right? I could vote for Jill Stein and the Green Party. Why would I vote for the Democrats? Well, the reason I might vote for the Democrats is because I know, and the Democrats are going to keep reminding me of this, the reason that I am able to get this legal status, first of all, come here. Secondly, get legal status. Third, get citizenship. The reason that all happened is because the Democrats helped me do it. So I'm going to be loyal to them because they helped me get in the first place. I believe this is a long game strategy being played by the Democratic Party. Let's just increase our voter base so that the Republicans have less opportunity, less chance to beat us because now we got more voters. So if we got 300 million people in America and we can increase that to 400 million, and that extra 100 million are all going to be loyal to the Democrats, and a good percentage of them are going to vote in every election, well, how are we going to lose? Again, just my theory. I got to keep saying that. I'm not stating this as fact. This is just my theory of how it happened and why it's happening. Now, you may also need to ask, because this is an important question too, because the president can only get 8 years. This is not an 8-year strategy. This is a 50-year strategy. Oh, that's what y'all got to understand. This is a long game that the Democrats and the Republicans are playing long games too. But the long game that they're playing, this is a 50-year strategy. So Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, even if they win 2 elections, they only get 8 years. They may not even get to reap the benefits of what they're doing. But they're working with the Democratic Party. And all of you understand the Democratic Party is bigger than just whoever the president and vice president are, because, again, they come and go. Barack Obama came and went. Bill Clinton came and went. Whoever wins comes and goes. Even Donald Trump comes and goes. So they're playing the long game of, okay, in the long game, big picture, 2050 election, how do we put ourselves in a better position to win? And the person who's in office now, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, you need to do things to set us up for the long game win. And this is increasing the voter base, because otherwise, again, I can't think of it. Any of you can answer the question in the comments. What exactly does anybody who's here now, Democrat or Republican, what do you benefit from bringing a large group of immigrants into the country? What do you get for it? What does the government get for it? What does Kamala Harris get? She's already married she already got whatever kids she's going to have. What does she benefit from bringing more immigrants into the country? What does she get? What does Joe Biden get? Joe Biden's 80 something years old. What does he get for bringing more migrants into the country? What is his personal benefit? I understand that some of you, maybe you have friends or family who are trying to get here, and I understand what you get personally, but what does the government get for bringing more people into the country? I have not come up with a better theory than that. What do they benefit other than they get more voters? Again, but what does Kamala care if more immigrants come into the country? What does she get other than that? Nothing. And so some people say cheap labor, but see, Kamala Harris doesn't own a business. She ain't no entrepreneur. Neither is Joe Biden. They don't own businesses. Why do they care about cheap labor? What do they get out of it? Again, I understand what an entrepreneur gets, but what does Kamala Harris get? She doesn't own the business. What does she do for a living? She works for the government. Joe Biden works for the government. They don't care about cheap labor. What does that do for them? Again, the Republicans own businesses too, right? Don't they get cheap labor? So why would the Republicans be against it then if it's all about cheap labor? Now, some Republicans frame it as we do want both sides of the aisle. And as a matter of fact, while we're on the subject, a lot of people talk about with the Republicans, Donald Trump is working for his rich friends, his billionaire friends. Well, how much money did Kamala Harris spend during the election? And how much did Donald Trump spend? I think Kamala Harris spent 2 or damn near 3 times as much money as Donald Trump. Where'd that money come from? It wasn't coming from random people giving her $5. Those came from billionaires. There are more billionaires donating to the Democrats than there are donating to the Republicans. So next time you hear people talking about, oh, well, Donald Trump's just trying to help the rich people. Well, Kamala Harris received more money from billionaires than Donald Trump did. All right, look at the numbers. Look it up. And those people you saw at the inauguration of the day, Jeff Bezos, Amazon guy, Washington Post owner, Mark Zuckerberg, Facebook. Who's the other guy? The guy from Google, the CEO of Google. Who else was there? Well, that was in the billionaire group. I think it was just the 3 of them that got pointed out the most. All 3 of those individuals, just so you all are clear, all 3 of those individuals would have been at the inauguration had Kamala Harris won. They would have been there. Those people are just playing the game. I told you all this about Mark Zuckerberg last week. Mark Zuckerberg would have been at whatever inauguration, whoever won, he would have been there. He would have been on whatever side won. Y'all remember the virus a couple of years ago? What was Facebook doing? Doesn't sound like he was working for the Republicans then. Those guys go to whatever side is going to help them have the control. Someone said the LVMH owner, or I don't even know who that is. But yeah, they all would have been at whatever side was winning. That's how they play. They get on whatever side is winning. That's how they play the game. So please don't think the billionaires are only for the Republicans. It's nonsense framing. And again, had the Democrats won, the Republicans will be telling you the exact same story. Let's move on. When it comes to immigration, folks, I talked about this last week when I did the live stream on immigration. Any of you who's from a different country, please confirm or deny what I'm about to say. There is no country in the world where you can just get in as easily as America allows people to get in. There's no country in the world that allows you to just come in. Nowhere can you just come in that easily, that quickly, and get legal status. Only America allows us. Now, let me push back on my own point. I understand why America allows it, because we frame ourselves, we position ourselves as the land of opportunity. This is the place where you have freedom. You have religious freedom. You have freedom of speech. You can do what you want. You can bring your family here. There's more economic opportunity. You have opportunity to be upwardly mobile here in America in ways that you can't in whatever country any of you may come from that's not the United States. There's more opportunity here than there is in any other country in the world. That's the reason why everybody wants to come here to America. I understand that. At the same time, and I talked about this when I talked about how America messes up on immigration, we can't just throw the doors open and allow anyone and everyone to come in here, because when you keep bringing more and more people from the outside in, then the fabric of what is in begins to change to where it's no longer what it used to be. And this is the framing that people use when they talk negatively about, let's just say true blood white Americans who've been here forever. And your history goes way back to the founding fathers. What some people say to criticize those people, let's just say white Americans who've been here for generations, they say, well, these white Americans are mad and upset and fearful that the country is no longer going to be majority white. And it probably won't be over the next 25, 30 years. It probably won't be anymore. It's going to be more brown. This is the browning of America. It's happening. We know it's happening. And that these white folks are pushing back because they don't want what they've had control over. They've been the majority for all this time. They don't like the feeling of somehow becoming the minority. Is that true? I believe in general it is true. At the same time, that doesn't necessarily make them wrong. I believe it's true, but that doesn't make them wrong. Think about it, all of you who are here. Any of you who's ever been in a place and you're firmly established in that place, and it's firmly established that you and people who are like you are the dominant group in that location. Let's say you go to a gym and you and your friends, y'all are the people at that gym, or in a community, y'all are the people in that community, or at a job, you and your coworkers, y'all pretty much are the people in power and the people of influence at that job. And then all of a sudden, all these other people come in and you all are no longer the majority the way that you used to be. Would you feel some type of way about that? Would you have some pushback to that? Would you have an issue with that? Would you be looking sideways at the new people who are coming in and replacing you as the people who are dominant majority? Every single one of you listening to this, whether you're a Democrat or Republican, you love Trump, you hate Trump, every single one of you will have an issue with that. So let's not make it seem like a white American who has an issue with the country no longer being dominant white, or they can see that that is the writing on the wall, if they're somehow wrong. You would have the exact same feeling about your group if you were being replaced. So again, I agree that it's happening. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're wrong. Again, if it was happening to you, how would you feel? What would you say? What would your response be? This is true. So again, it sounds good to demonize a certain group and saying, oh, well, they're only mad because they're getting replaced. Again, if you were getting replaced, what would you do? Would you be all right with being replaced? Again, at your job, in your community, in your neighborhood, and amongst your friend group, there's a whole other group coming in and now you're the minority. Would you just sit there and take it? Or would you have some pushback? Every single one of you listening to this will have some pushback. So the thing is, when you have a country and there's a certain framework of the country, there's a certain foundation of what the country is and who represents that country, and all of a sudden you start bringing in all these other pieces to mix in with what's already there, then the country ceases to be the country. It's not the same thing anymore. And here's the challenge. And this is the reason why I told you I can never work in politics, because there's no perfect answer to any of these questions. But this is a legitimate question and is a challenge that needs to be addressed, that America is America for a certain reason. It was founded a certain way. It was founded on certain principles. It was founded by certain people, and there was a certain culture to America for it to become what it became. And because it became that, it became this land of opportunity, this land of upward mobility, where anybody could come here and make a name for themselves, or make a life for themselves, rather, in a short period of time. That's the reason why so many people want to come here. The problem is, the more people we allow in here, the less it is the thing that it used to be. So it's kind of like this catch-22. Yes, it's the land of opportunity because of what it used to be. And that's the reason why so many people come for the opportunity, and we welcome them coming for the opportunity. The problem is, the more people come to take advantage of the opportunity, the less it is the thing to create the opportunity in the first place. So the more it is what it is, the more it changes from being what it was. Everybody understand this? So it's a tricky question. There's no right answer to this question. That's my point. There's no right answer to it. And again, politicians sign up to allegedly try to solve these problems. This is the reason why I couldn't be in politics. And the reason why I wouldn't be in politics, not because I have a problem tackling tough challenges. The reason is that when you have to serve 330 million people, anything you say and anything you do, somebody's going to be pissed off and upset about it. And this is the job that you're signing up for. And you got to deal with 4 years of this, or 6 years, or 2 years, or whatever length your term is. This is the reason why I often use this as an example. Look at Barack Obama when he won in 2008, and look at him when he left office in 2016. You see that aging, that 20 years of aging that Barack did? That's not because he has bad genes or bad genetics. That aging is because of what I just explained to you. All right. The aging is because of what I just explained to you. All right. He had to solve problems that are really unsolvable. All right. No matter how smooth of a talker Barack was, he could not solve these unsolvable problems, because no matter what he did, somebody was mad about it. That's the job you sign up for when you're a politician. And Donald Trump seems to be immune to that type of stress, but he's dealing with it the same way. He's just wired a little bit different than Barack, but it's the same situation. So what I did, I went and looked this up, and let me see if I can find an answer, because I went and looked this up yesterday. I asked ChatGPT, which gave me good information. I asked ChatGPT, is there anywhere in the world outside of the United States of America where you can quickly come in and get into citizenship pretty quickly? And what are the terms that have to be followed in order to get it? And I want to give you this so that y'all understand. So here's my question. Are there any countries in the world in which you can become a legal citizen within a month? All right, that's my question right here, ChatGPT. Now, let me read these answers to you that ChatGPT gave me, because this is very interesting. I want y'all to understand this for the context of this conversation. They said some countries offer expedited citizenship process, though they typically involve, key term here, significant financial investment. In order to be an expedited legal status in other countries in the world, you must be part of what they call CBI. This stands for Citizenship By Investment programs. And they gave me a few examples. So let me give you these examples. So in the country of Dominica, the time frame is you can become a citizen within 1 to 2 months. Here's the requirement to be a citizen in 1 to 2 months in Dominica. Any one of you, just go there right now. Here's how you become a citizen. You must invest at least $100,000 in a government fund or $200,000 in real estate. That's what you have to do to become a citizen there within a month or two. Next one, St. Kitts and Nevis. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. St. Kitts. They say the time frame is as fast as 2 months, and they call it the accelerated application process. Here's their requirement. Their requirement is you have to make a minimum donation of $125,000 to the Sustainable Growth Fund, or you got to invest $200,000 in real estate in order to become a citizen in 2 months. Next one, Antigua and Barbuda. Time frame 1 to 2 months. Requirements. Notice these requirements are the same every time. $100,000 giving the money to the government. You got to donate $100,000 to the government to become a citizen. You can buy your way in if you give them $100,000 to the government, or you got to put $200,000 into real estate. Notice that many of these had the exact same framings. One more is Vanuatu. I've never even heard of this country. 194 countries in the world. I never heard of this one. Vanuatu, Vanuatu. The time frame is within 1 month you become a citizen. What you must do is you must donate $130,000 to the development support program. So these programs, ChatGPT as this context, they require rigorous background checks, and you got to prove that you have the money. And there are other countries who offer paths to citizenship, but usually under exceptional circumstance, such as you get married to somebody, your ancestry, or some special government waiver. I'm bringing all that up and explaining that to you to help you understand that America is the only country where you can get in as quickly as we allow people to get in, or do you get in at all? Are there other countries in the world where they might never let you in? You can go there, you can get a visa, you can visit for a while. Any of you who's American and you travel to other countries, you understand that you may have to get a visa in order to travel. You have to fill out some paperwork before you get over there. Before you even get on the plane, you got to have the paperwork filled out. When you go to you get on the plane, you get on American Airlines, you're about to fly overseas to some country. They get told right there on the computer, oh, you're flying to whatever country. Let's name a random country. You're flying to this country today, sir. Great. When they put your information in the computer that you're checking in for the flight, it comes up on there, hey, this person has to have the paperwork. Do they have the proper paperwork? Have they cleared their paperwork? Because if they haven't, they can't even get on the plane to come over there because they're not going to let you in. They won't even let you on the plane unless you got the paperwork. And the paperwork says, when are you coming here? Why are you coming here? How long are you staying? Who are you? What's your background? They want to know everything about you before they even let you visit the country, let alone are they going to let you stay. Most countries in the world, this is how they operate when you're coming. I'm an American, so I only speak for American experience. This is how they operate when you're coming into their country. And then after all that paperwork you fill out, then they tell you how long you can stay. You can only stay here. Any country you want to travel to, Americans listen to this. You have an American passport and nothing else. When you're traveling to another country, a foreign country, you can Google and look up how long can I stay in this country as a visitor. And you might need paperwork, you might not, but every one of them has a limit. You can only stay for so long. America has its limit as well, but America has a way that you can stay. But over there, other countries, they don't have ways. There's no way that you can stay. We won't let you stay. No, you can't stay. You can't stay. Unless you're marrying somebody who lives here, you can't stay. You get 90 days, you got to go. You stay here longer than 90 days, we're going to come find you. We're going to put you in jail. And then we're going to send you to a coach class ticket back to America. And you are banned from coming back because you violated our rules. Countries do that, by the way. Those of you who don't know. I knew a person in Canada. Actually, she wasn't in Canada. She was here in South Florida. She was a Canadian. And she had come here on a visa, either a travel visa, work visa, something like that. She overstayed her visa. And somehow, some way, I guess she forgot that she had overstayed her visa. It was a stupid thing that she did. I guess she forgot that she overstayed her visa, right? So she travels from Miami to Canada to go visit her family. She hadn't been to Canada in like 10 years. Her visa was supposed to be less than 10 years. She goes to Canada. And then when she tries to get on the plane to come back to Miami after her visit to Canada, the customs people tell her, wait a minute, you overstayed your visa. You can't come back. You can't get on the plane, and you're banned from America for 10 years. They banned her for 10 years because she overstayed her visa. Other countries do the exact same thing. And all her stuff was in Miami because she actually literally lived in Miami. She had overstayed her visa. Again, I don't know why she was so dumb as to forget that she overstayed her damn visa to leave. She should have stayed here. They never would have caught her. Well, maybe they would now, but y'all get my point. Other countries do this exact same thing. You cannot just come there. You cannot stay there and let you go to another country and you violate. You're out there acting dumb and acting like you ain't got no sense. The stuff that you see a lot of Americans doing and not respecting the land and not respecting the country, you do that in a country in which you're a visitor, are you going to find out the rights that you have in America are not the rights you have in other countries. So any of you ever travel somewhere that's outside of America, those of you Americans who never been anywhere, keep in mind when you get on that plane, you do not have the same rights in other countries that you have in the United States. The rights you have here are not the rights you have in other countries. Most other countries have much more strict laws in terms of what you can do, what you can't do, what they will accept and what they won't accept. And you also don't have the same due process, meaning you don't have a right to a lawyer. You do not have the right to remain silent. You do not have the right to a speedy trial. You don't have a right to none of that shit in other countries. So be careful, Americans. Any of you who've never been anywhere, y'all don't understand this. So talk to somebody who has. They'll tell you. Here's the point of all this, folks. Other countries, if you want to join them, they require you to make a significant donation. They require you to be adding value to the country. And you got to be producing, or again, you got to be contributing in some way, shape, or form. You can't just come there and take. You got to come there and give. Other countries, if you want to move to their country and be part of what they're doing, you must contribute and add to what's already happened. You can't just be there and be neutral, and you damn sure just can't be there taking. If that's all you're doing, they won't even let you in the first place, let alone where they let you stay. Only America allows that. And again, I'm not saying this is necessarily a bad thing on America. What I'm saying is, if you allow a multitude of people, you allow hundreds of thousands and millions of people to come here, and everybody's coming here to take what they can get, but they're not contributing, then eventually the fabric of what the country is will cease to be the fabric of the country. And that's when we get a problem. And that's why when Donald Trump came out and framed, hey, I'm drawing a clear line. They want to bring more people in. I want to keep them from coming in. This is the reason why it got such an enthusiastic response, because there are a lot of Americans who maybe they couldn't explain it the way I just explained it, but they understand the same thing that I'm understanding. I'm just articulating it and spelling it out, but they understand the exact same thing. There are many Americans listening to me right now. Everything I just explained, you understand it. Maybe, again, you wouldn't say it the same way I'm saying it, but you get my point. And this is the reason why many people supported Trump, because he drew a clear line. We don't want more people coming in this country because it is unraveling the fabric of what this country was, what made it what it was, and what keeps it as it is. And he was 100% correct. That is happening. Now, that doesn't mean, again, the change that's happening in this country does not necessarily make it wrong. Sometimes change is good, but that doesn't mean all change should happen just for the sake of change. And that is the position that Donald Trump put himself in back in 2016, is the reason why he still has a strong fan base to this very day. And this is why people say, well, Donald Trump's fans are white people who've been here in America, and they're quote unquote racist and they're xenophobic and all of these things. And anybody who's not white and not some true blue blooded white person from America, anyone who's supporting Trump who's not that. Now, if you're brown or you're black and you're supporting Donald Trump, you know what people say to you. If you let people know that you support Donald Trump, what do they say to you? Anybody who's brown or black, and you have ever said anything positive, even remotely positive or even neutral about Donald Trump, what do people say back to you? They use some form of, how are you as a black person or as a brown person or as a gay person or as a whatever, anybody who's not a heterosexual white person, how are you supporting Donald Trump when he hates people like you, or he's going to deport you, or he's going to send you to the chambers, like that guy whose name I can't say from the country that starts with the letter G. He's going to do all these negative things to people like you, and you're supporting your own demise, and you're going to fuck around and find out. Y'all know these things that people say. If you happen to go along with anything that he says and you happen to not be a white person, if you are a white person, they say, well, you're just racist. And if you aren't a white person, then they say, well, you're just stupid. You just don't understand what you don't understand. Of course. Of course, that's the argument. Now, again, I'm not even saying that I agree or disagree with any of these things. I'm just helping you all understand the frame that Donald Trump was very smart in strategically positioning himself the way that he did, because the other side, the Democrats, had strongly positioned themselves as, we want to bring in as many outsiders as possible. Again, look at the people we talked about. Look at Barack Obama. Where's he from? Look at Kamala Harris. Where's she from? All right, these people are from all these different places. So this browning of the country, Donald Trump was smart to position himself as being against it. And it's not even so much that Donald Trump hates anybody coming from outside the country. I mean, look at his wives. He doesn't have a problem with immigration. This is political framing. That's all this is. This is just a game. This is just one big game for all of you to understand. Those of you who really get angry and you are personally offended by things you see politicians doing, and here's things that you hear them saying, this is one big game. All of you really need to understand that and emotionally detach from these things that are happening, at least between that and coming out of the mouths of the politicians. Y'all see Donald Trump and Barack Obama sitting and having what looked to be a very jovial conversation at Jimmy Carter's funeral. This is all one big game, folks. Democrats, Republicans, this is all game. This is all hustle for them. All right, y'all are the ones getting played, getting too angry about these things. This is all hustle. And not that what they're saying is not true. It's not that what they're talking about isn't real and doesn't have real implications, but it's still a big game for all of them. They're all winning, no matter what side is doing whatever. They're all winning once you get entrenched in the game. So all that being said, folks, I told you, other countries, they don't just let you in, and that's the way it's supposed to be. I heard someone make this analogy, and I'll steal it. If you have a glass of water and you have a glass of milk, the water is the water and the milk is the milk. But as soon as you start mixing them together, when you mix water and milk together, it's no longer just milk and it's no longer just water. You have changed the fabric of what you have. This is a completely new thing. And if you're a person who's been in America, or you were born and raised in America, and you like America for what it is, and you notice that some changes are happening to this country and the underlying fabric of this country that made it what it is, that made you love it, and you notice that it's changing, and you push back against that by supporting a person who says, hey, we're not going to allow more mixing of people who are from the outside to come into the inside. What is wrong with that? Somebody tell me what's wrong with that. Someone who's not a Trump fan, you hate Donald Trump, tell me what's wrong with that. What's wrong with that idea? It's been this way. I love it this way, but it looks like too much change is happening at once that is making it different than the way that it was. I got a problem with that. What's wrong with that position? What's wrong with it? Whether it's a white person saying it, a black or brown person saying it, someone who was an immigrant saying it, why is that wrong? What's wrong with it? Tell me what's wrong with it. No one has a right to just walk into this country, going back to the CBP App. No one has a right to just walk into this country and get legal status and be able to be here and take from us because you ain't bringing anything. All right. And again, no disrespect to anybody here who came as an immigrant and you had nothing. I know a bunch of people who came here as immigrants, had nothing to offer. You were able to stay here, and now you're in a position where you can offer something. So you were able to work your way up. I completely understand that. Not everybody's born rich. Okay. Some people are able to work their way up. They come here with nothing. And at the beginning, all they can do is take because you ain't got nothing to give. But eventually you get to the point where you have something and now you can give back 100% appreciation to those people. That's one of the things that makes America, America. But at the same time, we all can agree there are people coming here who come with nothing. They come in and they take, and they never get to the position where they are giving back and actually recontributing what they took from the very beginning. So it becomes a net negative, some of the people that are coming into this country. The net negative is you come here with nothing, you take. Then maybe you get to the point where you're neutral, but you never give back. You never pay back what you were given when you came here. That's a net negative. And you multiply that by 100 people, multiply by 1,000, multiply by 1,000,000. I can completely understand how a person who is a Native American, I don't mean Native Americans like what some of you call Indians. I mean a Native American. You're from America. I can understand why a person who's from America has a problem with that frame, because it is a problem. I mean, how many of them can you take before eventually we're having more taken than we are having given back? That becomes a problem. And again, it must be solved. And this is the reason why Trump's framing was amazing framing. You cannot just walk here and you cannot just walk in other places and do what you want. There are rules and laws that need to be followed. The United States has clear laws on immigration. We have clear rules on how the border works. All Donald Trump is doing, I want to reemphasize this, all he's doing is enforcing the laws that are already on the books. That's all he's doing. He's enforcing the laws that already exist. He's not doing anything new. He didn't create a new law for the border. All he did was say, Joe Biden made the laws lax. I'm going to remove the laxness, and we're just going to do it normal the way it's supposed to be. That's all that's happening right now. All he's telling the people at the border is enforce the damn rules. That's it. And by the way, while I'm talking, those of you watching me on TikTok, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel just in case. All right. Sometimes when I get a lot of engagement on certain hot button issues on TikTok, some shenanigans take place. So if you're watching me on TikTok right now, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm live on YouTube right now as well. And follow me on Instagram, on X, on Facebook, on Rumble. I'm on all those apps. I'm on every app right now. So if you're watching me on TikTok, please make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, because when I tend to get this much attention on a subject, some shenanigans take place, if you know what I mean. All right. So make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. I should have said that earlier while I was talking. So one more point here, and then we'll open it up for conversation. When you allow more and more people to come into a space and you are not controlling the flow of incoming, the space is no longer the space. Again, if you have a glass of water and you start pouring milk into the glass, it's not water anymore. It's not milk either. It's something different. You've created a new thing. And again, the new thing may be amazing. New thing may also be terrible. So the people who had the water and they didn't want the milk to come in, they allowed a little bit of milk, but now more and more milk is getting poured into the glass. And the people who liked it as water are pushing back and saying, whoa, 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 this is too much milk you're putting into this glass. They have a right to that. And the people who are the milk who are pouring in, they're saying, and they're trying to emotionally blackmail you and say, well, so what? You should allow us to pour as much milk into the glass as we want to. That's not true. That's a false frame. If I like water just being pure water, and you want to pour more and more and more and more milk into my glass of water, I have a right to tell you, no, don't pour any more milk into my glass. I don't want any more milk. I got a right to that. And if you live here and you are a citizen here and you're from here and your family's from here and you've been here for generations and you don't want more milk poured into your glass, you have a right to say you don't want more milk poured into your glass. That doesn't mean you don't like milk. It just means you don't want milk mixed in with your water. I don't have a problem with milk. I just don't want milk in my water. And that I got a right to that. Again, I'm from here. I got a right to say that if I want to say it. So the people who are supporting Trump, and his biggest thing definitely during this cycle was the immigration. We know that was the biggest issue in the whole campaign or the election cycle between him and Kamala was immigration. That was his biggest point. He won the election on immigration. It wasn't about the price of eggs or how much gas costs. And yeah, that was an issue, but it wasn't the main issue. The main issue was immigration. And main reason he won was because he was very, very clear on it, and Kamala couldn't backtrack. Kamala tried to backtrack, but she couldn't backtrack because they were so deeply entrenched in their position that she couldn't act like they weren't doing what they were doing. And she was kind of handcuffed at the same time because she was coming from the Biden campaign and she couldn't say anything that separated her from Biden. And on the top of the fact that she's not a very smooth orator, all of these things combined put her in a bad position, and the reason why she lost. She couldn't overcome any of those. She couldn't backtrack on the immigration thing. She tried with the whole, we had a bipartisan border bill nonsense. People saw through that bullshit. And again, this is the reason why all of those things put together is the reason why on this level, I don't think we're going to see Kamala Harris again. We may see her doing other things, but at the federal level, at the president, vice president level, she's not going to be there again. She's not winning the Democratic ticket. She does not have the skills, and her background is going to keep getting used against her. All that being said, folks, if you are allowing America to lose its identity because we're not vetting all the imports, i.e. people, there is a legitimate challenge to that process. Now let's get into questions. I think we got a lot to be discussed here today. Let me start over on YouTube. And the question is, we got to be careful when someone starts a question with a so. James Mangione over on YouTube said, so politicians can say whatever they want. Well, technically, James, anybody can say whatever they want. But I understand the question that you're really asking that you aren't saying. James is basically, he's taking what I talked about at the beginning. A politician's job is to frame things. It is not necessarily to be factual. They can frame it and influence you, and that's what they're supposed to do, because the politician's job is to win elections, not necessarily to provide you with facts. It is your job as a citizen to find out what the facts are and decide whether you agree with the frame or not. It's not the politician's job to give you facts. This is not school. This is not college. All right, this is politics. It's a whole different game. Advance, good morning to you. All-Star said, took my mother 20 years to get her citizenship. There you go. Power Nab said, from basketball to business and politics, great evolution. Appreciate you. Hertz says, if our country is a car, then Democrats are the gas pedal and the Republicans have the brakes. The car is still headed in the same direction. O-Dog said, what's the country's obligation to get citizens economically? I ask because I think people do not understand the value of our citizenship. Well, they don't understand it because they don't have to pay for it. Nobody understands the value of something they don't have to pay for. So, O-Dog, you're 100% correct. In other countries, you got to put some money on the table to come into their country. Otherwise, they won't let you stay. Most other countries, if you want to become a citizen, unless you're marrying somebody, you got to put some type of tangible resources on the table that you donate to the country as basically as an offering to show them that you're serious about contributing to the country. And if you don't do it, you cannot come. That's just the rule straight up. Most countries are like that. And most of you who live in America, who've never been anywhere outside of America, you may think that that's a foreign thing. No, what we do is foreign. We're the only country that does that. Thomas said watery milk. Yuck. Yeah, well, that's what some people say about the immigration into America. So let's see what we got here over on TikTok. I'm reading the comments. To O-Dog said, I meant to her citizens. What's the country's obligations to their citizens economic? The country's obligation to citizens? I think just an opportunity. Again, that's why America is the land of opportunity. Bianca Shalan said, be consistent if that is what you believe. I don't know what you're referring to. And people change their beliefs often. People will change their beliefs, Bianca, based on new information, new perspectives, and new experiences. So you don't have to keep the same beliefs. You keep the same principles. You don't have to keep the same beliefs and opinions. It's Yvette said, can I please come up and say something really quick? If you're referring to actually being on the stream, the answer is no. But you can leave as many comments as you like. Let's see. Alex says, well, that's what some people are saying. Chris J said, and they pay taxes. Yes, they do pay taxes if they have a job. If they have a job and if they're getting paid above board. The people only pay taxes when they have a job. They are on paper have a job and they're getting taxed properly, meaning when you have a job, the government takes taxes out of your check before you even get the money. So they got to be doing all those things. If you're getting paid under the table, you're not paying taxes. Starvin Show said, who is us? I don't know what I was referring to when you got that comment, but when I say us, I was probably referring to American citizens who were born here and have lived here. A-Town LLC, appreciate you. President Chicken said, for decades, we have let Middle Easterners in and we still pay for them and their families. Well, not just that group, a lot of groups. We've been letting a lot of people in for a long time. That's the whole point. Hannah said, he's not saying you can't come to the country, but you need to do it legally and maintain legal status. Yes, exactly. I'm giving you the frame. The frame is he is drawing a clear line of bring in as many people as possible or don't bring in anybody. That's what he's making it. I understand. Yes, people are still coming in. Immigration still happened under the first Trump administration, but it was significantly less than during Obama's and during the Biden-Harris administration. But again, most people don't want to go into those details. It's just a clear black and white. Bring in immigrants, don't bring in immigrants. Donald Trump's frame is I'm not letting people in, whereas Biden's frame was I am letting people in. So you got to keep things really, really simple for most people. Most people don't want to go into the details. Deron Lewis says this election was all about whites wanting to hold on to their power. I think that's part of it. I think that is part of it. And again, Deron, that doesn't make them wrong. If white people want to hold on to power, again, name a person who doesn't want to hold on to power. Deron Lewis, I'm assuming you're not white since the way that you're framing this statement. Let me ask you a question. Are you okay with losing your power in any aspect of your life? So even if you think the election was about white people holding on to power, so what's wrong with wanting to hold on to power? Who doesn't want to hold on to power? Name one person. Anybody here who doesn't want to hold on to power, identify yourself. Everybody wants to hold on to power. All right. Ernest says, send them back. Let's get it started. President Trump, send them back. Well, that's what Tom Homan's saying he's going to do. So we'll see. A-Town said they get back to their own. Yes, possibly. Ryan said, very good point, my boy. They came here with nothing but expect everything free from taxpayers' dollars. Well, some of them. I wouldn't say everybody. There are some immigrants who come here. They come with nothing. They ain't got anything, so they can't give. But they work their way up. They become prosperous, and then they start contributing to the country, so they actually make it better. So those kind of immigrants are the kind of immigrants that I think all Americans like. All right, you came here, you added value. You didn't have anything at first, so you had to take, but then you got good, you added value, and now you're a contributing member of society. Those people we appreciate. Again, listen to Donald Trump talk in 2016. All of his rhetoric was about they're sending people who are not going to add value. And that framing was a great frame because it got a lot of people's attention. It got people emotionally triggered, and it got people to vote for him. It was a great strategy by Donald Trump. And he's still using it 10 years later. Deron said this election was all about race. Well, if you got a black person and a white person running, of course it's going to be about race. It's not all about race, but of course that's always going to be the frame when you have a brown person. Is Kamala black? I did a whole live on that. But when you have a brown person and a white person going against each other, of course that's going to be the frame. Someone says, so do the homeless. Is rid them too by your logic. Well, the homeless are citizens. That's the difference. Linda says, so when is Musk going to give back? He's already giving back. He's an entrepreneur. So, Linda, I'm assuming you're not an entrepreneur, but the only way an entrepreneur makes money is by providing value to customers. So the only way Elon Musk is able to make money is by providing value. All right, how many Teslas do you see on the road? So he's already giving back. And most of the money that the government collects from taxes, which is goes against the grain of what you often hear on social media. Most of the money the government collects from taxes come from quote unquote billionaires. They pay most of the tax base is coming from billionaires' pockets. So even though they may not be paying the same percentages as everyday people, even their lesser percentage is more money than the everyday person's contribution. So again, the Democratic side has done a great, and the mainstream media has done a great job of framing that and fooling people into believing that most of the tax dollars are coming from an everyday person making $60,000 a year. That's not true. Most tax money comes from the Jeff Bezoses and Mark Zuckerbergs and the Bill Gates of the world. The big boss, yes, if they do those things, if they go through that process, build a business, pay taxes, etc., yes, but not everybody's doing it. That's the point. Lord of Frog said, you're absolutely wrong. All right, what I got wrong? Tell me what I got wrong. And then right after that, Luxury Window Pro says, truth bombs. And then Ryan says, preach, brother. So which one is it? So some people say I'm absolutely wrong. Some people say I'm absolutely right. This is the beauty of the internet. So if I'm wrong, tell me what I got wrong. Nayara said, all the moochers are disagreeing with you. Maybe that's the situation. Carla, Indiana, good to see you. Maybe that's the situation. Moochers are mad. All right. Alex said he just tried to overturn an amendment in the Constitution. I don't know about that. All right, people have been using that for 4 years. Alex, you got to come with something better than that. Or ALDX, we got to do something better than that. We heard that one too many times. It's like the boy who cried wolf. Now that one doesn't have the same effect that it had 5 years ago. You got to come up with something better. Tito said he is doing better than Joe Biden already. He's only been 2 days, but you might be right. You might be right. Kesha said Kesha said system will become depleted if it is not replenished, which decreases quality of life overall. Exactly. Yes, that's the frame that, again, Trump is putting out there, even though he doesn't say it in so many words. He can't say that in so many words, but that's the point that he's getting across. That if people are coming and taking, but nobody is getting to the point of giving back, then eventually the system runs out of resources. That's the issue. Kat Louise says, thank you for explaining. You're welcome. Kayla Mazu said, we're on stolen land. No, we're not. Land is not owned. You don't own land. Any of you who owns property in the United States, what will happen if you don't pay your property taxes? You'll find out that it's not yours. There's no such thing as stolen land. No, you never own land. You occupy land and you control it. So I'm assuming you're referring to the Native Americans that many of you call Indians. They controlled and occupied the land that became America. And then when the settlers came in, the settlers had bigger guns and more weapons. They took it from them. That's what happened. That's not stealing because they didn't own it. You control it now. You controlled it then. I control it now. That's the way it works. That's the way life works, ladies and gentlemen. In polite society, people don't often want to admit that, but that's the way it works. If another country was to come in here and take it from us, then again, we can't say that they stole it. They just took it. They took control of it. This is the law of the jungle. The weak are subject to the decisions of the strong. And that's how it works. So that's what happened to the Native Americans. They got land taken from them. They didn't own it. So let's say Ernest says, send him back, President Trump. Well, that's what he's claiming he's going to do. The big boss said, mass school, all things are not immigrants. Okay. What's your point? What's your point? I mean, there are immigrants. Immigrants may do other things, though. So, I mean, it doesn't change it. Luxury Window said, then you don't have a sovereign country. Now, I don't know what you were responding to when you said that. The big boss said, increase labor force participation. It depends. Chris said, what do you think Border Patrol and ICE do? I think I talked about that. March said, all countries have immigration laws. Yes, they do. We have the most open immigration laws where we allow people in very openly. America is the land of opportunity for a reason, because we allow people to come here. Other countries are much, much less open to allowing people to just come. Tony says, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Thank you. Those of you watching on TikTok, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Shenanigans happen on TikTok when I start talking about hot button issues. Trust me, it's happened like 5 times in the last 6 months. So this is not a theory. Half bolted on said, this country has never been just water. It was built like a stew, everything thrown together. I get what you're saying, half bolted on. Let's address that. So it was built with a certain fabric of people here. And there was a certain ethos of what it meant to be an American. And as we allow more and more people in, I talked about this in a live I did last week. So you can find this on YouTube, where I talked about how America does immigration wrong. In other countries, if you want to be an immigrant and come there, let's say that you put the money up, or it took longer, because the examples that I gave you are just the ones you can get in quickly. But let's say you take a year or two, you become a citizen of Sweden or something like that. For you to become a citizen over time, here's the thing, because they aren't allowing so many people in at once, they can have some control, for lack of a better term, of the people who they are allowing in. So let's say they allow 10 people in. Those 10 people who they allow in, they're going to show you, here's how things work around here. Here's what we do. Here's what we don't do. Here's what's acceptable. Here's what's not acceptable. And they force you to assimilate to the way that they do things. If you're going to come into our space, you must assimilate to the way things work around here. You can't just come here and do what you want to do because this is our land. You are a visitor here. Even if you become a citizen, you are a guest. You can't just come here and do what you want to do. Did y'all hear Steve Bannon when he was talking about Elon Musk? In December, he said this. When Elon Musk was getting on social media telling people, well, this is the way it's going to be, et cetera, he was talking as if he had won an election. And a lot of people were criticizing him for this on X. And Steve Bannon got on his show and he said, we understand, Elon, your money helped us win the election. We appreciate you helping us win the election. But at the same time, you are a convert. All right, you weren't here at the beginning in 2016 and 2015. You are a convert, and converts sit in the back. You can't just come in here and get on the pulpit and start telling us what it is. You just got here. And he was 100% correct. And it's the same thing that happens in other countries. You join another country, they're going to tell you what it is, and they're going to tell you how it goes. You don't come in there just doing what you want to do, and you tell them how it goes. It doesn't work like that. And again, when they keep the numbers down, they're able to control this process. In America, we can't control the process. There are too many people coming in at once. They can't all be monitored, watched, and looked over. So therefore, people are just coming here and doing as they wish, and they're not getting pushback. That's the problem. So I get what you're saying, have bolted on. The country has never been just water. Yes, you are correct. And your response to my metaphor. At the same time, we could slowly drop the milk in. We were dropping the milk in with a little dropper. You know how you get the little dropper, you put like one drop at a time. What we're doing right now is pouring buckets of milk into the water. That's the problem. Sometimes you want to do things fast in life, but sometimes you do things too fast. It messes up the whole process. Keisha said, nobody who has a business or even a house will carelessly allow random people to come into your home. Yes, exactly. So this person with no name says, natives have a right to their lands that America's invaded. Your argument is flawed. It's not theirs. It's not yours. If someone comes and invades your space and takes it from you, and we're talking land, I'm not talking like your house, but we're talking land, then again, who you gonna call? You gonna call the cops? Who you calling? Somebody takes your car, you can call the cops. Somebody breaks into your house, you can call the cops. Somebody takes your land, who are you calling? Who are you calling to defend you? If you can't defend yourself, who are you going to call on to defend you? The natives got their land taken from them. It was never theirs because it got took from them. That's how land works. You control and you occupy land. You do not own it. And just keep watching. There are other countries where there are conflicts going on right now. And if they can't defend their land, it gets taken. That's it. This is the way it works in the jungle, folks. And human beings at our base level, this is the jungle. Again, in polite society, we go and talk about these things. But when push comes to shove, violence is the bottom line of communication. And if you are not capable of defending yourself against violence or inflicting violence on others, you will be pushed around. That's the way life works. In case any of you forgot, that's the way it works. Michelle Hall said, this is a very good way to explain this. Thank you. There's a reason why nobody invades or comes into America nowadays is we have a very strong military. If we didn't have that strong military, people will come take our shit. They would take America. If we didn't have a strong military, we got a strong military. So you come here, you know something's going to happen. If we didn't have that, people will come and take this land from America very easily. Y'all remember what happened in Pearl Harbor back in the day? All right, Japan made a mistake. And what did we do? What did we do in retaliation? That retaliation that America did to Japan back in the days was a signal, not just to Japan, but to everybody. All right, this is what we do when you violate. And that was what, 60 years ago? Who's violated since? Only, I guess you could say 9/11. Right, look what we did to them. So again, or who we think it was. We don't even know who it was. John said milk. No, I was born here in America. And my family goes back generations here in America. So no, I'm not the milk. I'm not an immigrant. Half said, so all the Mexicans that were in the entire west side of the country, what are you referring to there? Your sentence is a sentence fragment. Danny said, we have the right to tell the MAGAs to fuck off. Yes, you do. Free speech. You do have a right to do that. Half Balta said the natives had a point and didn't want the water to come in. The natives being Native Americans who got their land taken. Did they have a point? Yeah, they had a point, but your point is only as strong as your ability to defend it. That's the thing, Half Balta. Your point is only as strong as your ability and willingness to defend your point. If you can't defend your point, who cares what you have to say? This is the way life works, everybody. In case any of you didn't know, some of you have been living in your bubbles for so long that you think just the things that you say and these emotional pleas are the bottom line. They are not. Bottom line of life, when people cannot communicate in any other way, the bottom line is violence. And if you are unable to defend yourself against violence or inflict violence on others, you will be taken advantage of. That's the way it works. Look what's happening overseas in the country with the R word and the country with the U word. If you can't defend yourself, you get taken advantage of, period. The only reason the country with the U word is even still standing is because America got involved. America didn't get involved, that country would be a parking lot. Would have been a parking lot 8 months ago. Mama said, come here the legal way. Yes, everybody should. Jay said, why is Trump getting rid of DEI? I'm not a fan of DEI. I did a whole live stream on this, even though I should be. As a black person, I'm supposed to be a fan of DEI, right? I'm not a fan because it goes against the grain of performance. I told you I come from the sports world. Our brand is about performance and results. DEI is about handing people things they did not earn. I'm not a fan of it. He's getting rid of it because, well, I can understand why Trump, as a white person, and he's appealed to a whole lot of white Americans, why he would get rid of DEI, because it goes against white people. I mean, nobody can disagree with that. DEI is basically reverse racism against white people. Again, even if you're a fan of DEI, nobody can deny that that's how it's used. Now, the definition of diversity, equity, and inclusion don't sound like that, but the implementation of DEI is we're going to preferential treatment is going to be given to black people, brown people, LGBTQ, and women. And we're going to give no preference. We're actually going to go against any heterosexual white male. All right. Again, nobody can question that. That's what it is. That's how it's implemented. So why would Trump go against that? Trump's a heterosexual white man. And a lot of his fans are as well. So it makes perfect sense to me. Someone said Trump's parents were immigrants. What did they contribute? They were entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs can only exist by creating jobs and giving people value. That's the only way they make money. So anybody who's an entrepreneur, you're asking how are they contributing? Again, ask yourself, how does an entrepreneur make money? The only way an entrepreneur can make money is by selling products and services to people. The only reason people give money to an entrepreneur is because you're getting more value than the value of the money that you're willing to exchange to get it. So that's is a false question to even ask of an entrepreneur. By definition, you have to give value to be an entrepreneur. You cannot sustain as an entrepreneur without giving value to other people. It's impossible. Now, if you have a job, you can not give value to anybody and just hang around forever, but you cannot as an entrepreneur. It is definitionally impossible. True 3 Noah, appreciate the gifts. Thank you, sir. Let's see. The Janelle says she doesn't have the skills. Are you referring to Kamala Harris? If you're referring to Kamala Harris, then my answer is correct. Confirmed. Kamala Harris does not have the skill. And the proof is, again, she was in the primary in 2019. She dropped out of the primary race before they even started voting because she was losing so badly. When she had to fight a fair fight against her other Democratic opponents, she couldn't even compete. Now, when she got handed the nomination, she got handed the nomination. But when she had to actually go through the fight, go through the gauntlet and earn it, she didn't do it. Janelle, did you not see that? Nurture Burst Baby said, you're not God to say that. I don't know what you're referring to. What did I say? Axel said 3 bipartisan border bills have been killed by Republicans in the last 3 terms. Well, the Democrats pushed back against one of those bills. So no, that's not true. The Democrats pushed back against one of those bills. They didn't like it. And the money for those bills was, the majority of it was not going to the border. The majority of it was going to the country with the letter U to defend them against the country with the letter R. So that what you're saying is factually not true. Shah said, can we stop with this native talk? We settled this years ago. Please add something valuable. Well, people are always going to argue against it because it's an appeal to emotion. And Shah, you got to understand that people are much more engaged when it comes to their emotions than when it comes to logic. So it's always going to be a conversation. It's always going to be a thing. Keisha said, politics has a morality of its own. That's very true. I don't know what that phrase is you said after that. I don't know what that means. Bazdio Pen, never heard of that. The big boss said DEI is a false flag. No, maybe. Burned in WST said, first of all, she lost, in my opinion, because she didn't even have enough time had she been our candidate. Well, people want to have it both ways with Kamala. They say, well, look at all the amazing things she did in a short period of time. Then they say, well, she didn't have enough time. When she had plenty of time, 2019, which Joe Biden ended up winning that primary, Kamala couldn't beat Joe Biden. She couldn't beat the other candidates that were running for the Democratic ticket in 2019. So if people think that she is really good and she can win, she needs to go through an entire primary just like everybody else, and she has to win the primary. She got to beat the opponents, just like Donald Trump did. Donald Trump beat like 15 people to get the Republican ticket in 2016, and he hasn't had a strong competitor since then. That's what she has to do. She got to go through the gauntlet, and she got to beat everybody just like everybody else did. Joe Biden did it. Obama did it. Hillary did it. Trump did it. W did it. She got to do that. She didn't do it. So anybody want to defend Kamala, again, she got to go through the gauntlet. She has to win fair and square just like everybody else. She has not done that. And there's no pushback to that. All right, let's see what else we got here. I lost my spot in the comments. Sometimes I miss my spots. Let's see. Back. Someone said, I just saw this while I'm scrolling through. I'll get to that in a second. Someone left a comment that was funny. I'll get to that in a second. There's a lot of comments here today. All right. There's a lot going on. Someone said Musk is weird. All right. Well, you call him whatever you want to call him. That's your opinion. Carla said, you are a guest. You do not get to tell us how we should access to our country. Yes, and people have a right for that. User said, you're not saying anything of sense. Okay. I don't know what to say back to that. Mimi said, they aren't telling us what to do, though. Who are you talking about? Peter said, deport Musk. I don't think that's going to happen. He's contributing too much to society. He's not going to get deported. He's actually contributing. Elon Musk probably pays more through himself and his companies, probably contributes more in tax dollars than everybody in this live put together. So he ain't getting deported. RN Tive said, they come here, they need to know English, plain and simple. We shouldn't have. I understand that argument. I understand that position. Mimi says, so what you are saying is based off opinion, not fact. Mimi, did you not hear what I said at the beginning of this live stream? Maybe you didn't catch it. Political framing, political conversation is not about facts. It's about frames. Facts only matter in the academic space or when people are trying to split hairs on things. Facts do not matter. I did a whole live stream on this concept back in like September of last year. Facts don't matter. Okay, everybody heard me? Facts do not matter. Facts do not matter nearly as much as they used to. What matters these days is influencing, persuading, and framing. Facts are after all of that. If you can influence and persuade people with the proper frame, doesn't matter if you have facts. And a lot of people who are into the fact checking concept, it's hard for them to digest this reality. That's the reality of how life works. If you can influence and persuade people, you don't need any facts. A. Fred said, folks here need to come here legally, go through the processes like others. Yes, I agree. Ryan said the rich vote Democrat. Many of them do. It's rich people on both sides of the aisle. So the interesting thing, again, framing, is that people tend to have this frame that all the rich people are voting for Republicans. That's not true at all. Where did Kamala get that $1 billion from? A bunch of rich people, a bunch of billionaires. She didn't get that from people giving her $5. That was from billionaires. That's where she got the money from. The Democrats have more billionaire donors than the Republicans do. It's just the Republican donors are famous, so it seems like they have more of them. Most billionaires are not famous. Read the Forbes 400 magazine and go through the list of all the people they got listed and think of how many of them you actually know who they are. Most of them you've never heard of. Mimi says, are you saying invasion is okay? Well, first of all, it's a straw man question and it's a false dichotomy. But secondly, to answer your question, okay, again, who's the judge? If I'm saying something is okay or not okay, that means that someone is some judge that gets to say whether this is right or wrong. That's not the way it works in conflicts between countries. There's no judge. So if America says, hey, we want to go take some land over there, who's going to tell us that we can't? Who's going to tell America that they can't do it? Nobody, because nobody can tell us what to do. So it's not about it being okay or not okay. This is a false frame, what you're presenting to me here. And again, many of you have been in your bubbles of communities for so long that you think the same rules that apply in a polite society just apply in world politics. They don't. Brandon says stolen land. No such thing. Mimi says it was theirs. What do you mean it was never theirs? It was never theirs. They occupied it. So if you're occupying it, you could call it quote unquote yours. But as soon as somebody takes it, it ain't yours anymore. It was never theirs because they never owned it. You cannot own land. You occupy land. Again, anybody here living in America today, If you own land or you own property, if you don't pay your property taxes, what happens to your land or your house? The government comes and takes the shit from you because it was never yours. If you're paying taxes for something, you don't own it. How are you paying taxes for something that's yours? It makes no sense. I got to pay tax to you for something that I own. That makes no sense. You don't own it. You are borrowing it. You are paying for it. It's rented. Everything is rented, ladies and gentlemen. Some of you just don't want to accept that, but that's the way it works. Everything is rented. You own nothing. Novalette, thank you, True Nova, for the gifts. Novalette said Elon only wanted to get trillions and Trump wanted to get more richer. Well, people who are rich tend to want to get more richer. I mean, that's how they got rich in the first place. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong. You're framing here, Novalette. I get what you're saying, but what's wrong with that? What's wrong with wanting to get richer? Do you want to get rich, Novalette? Who doesn't want to get rich? I mean, money isn't everything, but money allows us to have access to everything that we want. Mimi said, I've heard enough. I'm out. All right. See you later, Mimi. PGL said, what are my credentials? Well, my most important credential when it comes to this conversation is that I turned on the camera and started speaking. That's my credential. Jules said, been this way forever. History has shown this time and time again. Exactly. Any of you read a history book? Please read some books on history. Read about Genghis Khan. Read about Napoleon Bonaparte. Read about Julius Caesar. Read about Alexander the Great. They went and took shit from people. Y'all think just because we have this civilized white society that those rules don't still apply. They still apply. The only thing that's changed is that now you can find out about it through the internet, but the rules still apply. If someone wants to take something from you and you cannot physically defend yourself, they will take it. Y'all watch National Geographic? A lion kills a gazelle and then the hyenas come around and they gang up on the lion and they steal the food. That's how it works. It works the same way with human beings. So many of you are just been inoculated from what happens in life, and you think that this is not true. It is true. Luke said this live is a great purpose for TikTok. I don't even know what that means, but I'm taking it as a compliment. Thank you. Carla said, to the victor go the spoils. Exactly. And see, all of us living in America, this is the most, militaristically, we're still the most powerful country. So no other country is going to mess with us because they can't beat us. If they could beat us, they would mess with us because we got plenty of resources to be taken. They can't beat us. That's why they leave us alone. User said, land developers know that well. Exactly. User said, you possibly believe you think you're making sense. Yes, I do believe I'm making sense. Yes, you're correct. So accurate, what you just said. Bluegrass said, America took itself over. What you mean? I didn't say that. ZZ said, exactly. That's what they're trying to do with the stealth invasion, to take our land and replace us. There are some people who say that. And that's one of the legitimate pushbacks against this mass migration into the country, is that they're saying they're bringing all these people in, it's changing the fabric of the country. And now once they're inside, these people could have nefarious intentions and start doing negative things to people in America. And we let them in the first place. So it's kind of like a Trojan horse. I get that framing. Not everybody agrees with it, but I understand what you're saying, Gigi. PGL said America is not a country. Well, the United States of America, colloquially, everybody knows when I say America what I'm talking about. Novalette said, you think Biden couldn't let murderers out of prison? Y'all would be the place down. If Biden let murderers out of prison, well, murderers get out of prison, whether they serve their sentences or they get pardoned. That happens. Affirmation on Amanda said, you visited Pearl Harbor last week? Okay, cool. I've never been to Hawaii. One place in America I haven't gotten. User said, you're not getting that DEI hire, bro. I'm an entrepreneur, sir. I'm not looking to get hired by anybody. I will never get hired again in my life. Katie said, this is true. Thank you for your vital information. Well explained. Thank you. Luke said, I'm Canadian. I always say America can take Canada in 8 hours. Yes, of course they can. And the country to the south. America could take a bunch of countries if they wanted to. There's only a few that might be able to put up some defense. Most countries, America, if it wanted to, could take most countries in the world over very easily. Only thing that stops us from doing it is just morality and just saying we're not going to do it. And also geographics. But Canada and Mexico, geographically, it would be actually strategically beneficial to America to take them. I'm not saying they should, but if America wanted to, it would be over. Canada couldn't even put up a fight. Mexico could not put up a fight. They don't have the military strength to fight back. If we wanted to take it, they have no strength whatsoever to fight back. Affirmational man said people don't like the truth. No, they don't, especially when it conflicts with their emotions. That's the issue. Daron said, whites have a ton of enemies today due to that ridiculous way of thinking. Well, everybody has enemies due to certain ways of thinking that could be deemed as ridiculous depending on your frame. So technically you're right, but it applies to every other group as well. Nay said, I think our government is doing that with California. Land not occupied, no more, so can take. Well, technically the government could take everybody's land if they wanted to. Every one of us who's in here right now, the government wanted to take whatever we got from us. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? If they wanted to take it from you, what you going to do? Most of you don't even have guns. What you going to do? You ain't going to do nothing. What you going to get on social media and complain about it? It's over. Noble guy said, Trump sell from a pin to an anchor from the office. You guys have no problem. I don't know what you're talking about there. John said, Donald Trump is an anchor baby too. Okay. Luke said, might is right. No other answer. Yes, that's how the world works. So Art said, even if I pay off my mortgage, I'll still be paying property taxes. Yes, you will. And if you stop paying, they will take that house. J Step said, in your opinion, how do immigration policies impact the long-term economic development in the U.S.? It's a good question. I could do a whole live just on that alone. I would do some more research on it before I did a whole live on it. But what I would say is, the first thing is, again, I believe this is a political play. I think immigration is more a political play for the Democrats to build their voter base. It's not really about the money, because people got to actually get an official job and be getting paid over the table so that they can be taxed. The government loves that because they can tax employees, get taxed at the highest rate, and they get to take your money before you get a say in what happens with it, unlike entrepreneurs and investors. So I think it's more of a political play than it is an economic play. But let me marinate on that, J-Step. I'm not ready to give you a more complete answer than that at this point. But it's a good question. TikTok Tom said, Trump is all your president now. Get over it. Well, people are never going to get over it, Tom. They're not going to get over it. Ms. Lisa L says, seriously, they have been in their bubbles. Yes, most people live in bubbles. Princess Living said, facts is survival 101. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. User said, we live like animals. We will be extinct like some. Everyone has weapons. Not everyone has weapons. Most people don't have weapons. Most people cannot physically fight and do not have a weapon, which means if somebody came to take your shit from you, is not a damn thing you could do about it except call the cops. They have weapons, or you get on the internet and complain about it. That's what I would say. Most people, if somebody took your shit from you, there's only two options that you got. Call the cops or complain about it, because you can't fight back. So no, most people do not have weapons. Good Life said, is the law of the land defend? Yes, you got to defend your stuff. If it's yours, you got to defend it. RN Ty said, come here legal and learn English. Yes. And again, in other countries, they give you rules and parameters. You want to come there. TikTok Tom said, DEI is trash. I agree. John, I can't see that. I can't say that country's name. I've been warned on TikTok to not say their name. That country with the letter U. That's why I keep talking around it. I can't say their names. Dennis said the U country gave up their nukes for an agreement, or they would have taken out the R country. No, I don't think so. The R country has a much stronger military. Whatever they got, whatever the U country has, the R country has. And the R country could turn the U country into a parking lot within 24 hours if it wanted to. They're showing restraint right now. And a lot of people have been conditioned, indoctrinated to believe that the R country is somehow bad. There's a bunch of Americans who think the R country is bad. Why? What'd they do? What'd they do that's bad? They could turn, the C country and the USA are the three countries that might not do anything to each other, but they could do whatever they want to every other country in the world. No other country comes close. Or except maybe the I country. We got to mention them. They're in there. I can't say these names. I can't say these names on TikTok. I've been directly warned to not say their names. Ms. Lisa said, as anyone selected for a job should be solely qualified for, got nothing to do with white. Well, that's how it should be, but that's not the way it is. That's the point. Princess Living said, DEI isn't what it used to be. Yes, DEI continue to go further and further to one side. Dina Johnson said, DEI is not merit-based. Of course it's not merit-based. It was not designed to be merit-based. It was designed to give preferential treatment to certain groups of people based on an emotional selling point, and it worked for several years. It worked, but now it's starting to get pushed back. Walden said, what do I think of the asylum loophole? No, it's similar to what I've been talking about here today. There's a similar thing that people can claim that, and America is just welcoming everybody. And Donald Trump said, no more. Let's see. DEI started because it was useful at the time. Some say. I don't think it was ever useful, but I get your point. I understand why some people were for it and why it did provide opportunities to some people who otherwise may not have gotten an opportunity, like for real. But then it just went further and further and further to the point that it no longer was serving its purpose. So I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying, Messiah. Jules 2.0 said, all facts here. Thank you. Novelet said, the man that let prisoners out to come in. Yes. Well, who was that? I think that was Biden, right? Deron says, in all capital letters. So with your logic is basically saying, all right, before I even read the rest of Deron's statement, this is what we call a straw man point. So we know there's about to be a straw man. When someone says, so with your logic, and then they use the word basically. So someone says, so basically, or so, here's what's about to happen. So I'm going to help you all out. This is what we call logical fallacy, is that someone's about to take what you said, they're going to rephrase it into something that you didn't say, and then they're going to ask you to respond to it. So let's read what Darren says. He says, with your logic, basically saying all the civilized society garbage is just that garbage. Now, did I say that? No. So that's a straw man. So an easy way to catch somebody using a straw man against you is they usually start with the word so, or they'll say something like basically, which means they're about to rephrase what you said into something that you didn't even say, and then they're going to ask you to respond to what they said. So I'm rejecting your frame, Darren. Try again. Dina Johnson said reverse racism. Yes, that's what it became. That's what it became. Luke said, I love your messages. Finally, TikTok makes sense. Thank you. TikTok's Tom said, DEI started because of woke ideology. Yes, it did. And it continued because of it. Chris B73 said, that's not true. What I say that wasn't true. Messiah said, DEI was needed when it started. I don't think it was needed. I understand the benefit of it. I wouldn't say it was needed. And it's a little bit different. But again, I understand people who are fans of DEI. I understand those who think it was needed. I don't agree that it was needed, but you're not wrong to say it was needed based on your frame. True Noah Seasoning said Trump 2025. Yes, that happened. That happens. User said, if you know there is racism, then you know why there has to be DEI. No, not necessarily, because it doesn't mean everybody's racist. And somebody could be racist and still hire you for a job if they think you can do the job. I could be racist against a certain group, but I still might hire you if you're from that group. If I think you will help me be successful, I might hire you anyway. And the challenge with racism is the first definition of racism is a way of thinking. It is not an action. Racism is not a behavior, it's a thought process. You look it up in the Merriam-Webster dictionary. The first definition of racism is a thought that one race is superior to another just based on the reality of race itself. Then what happened is Mr. Kendi, he wrote the book on how to be an anti-racist. He went and expanded the definition. People bought into it, and now they've expanded the definition of racism to be an action or some type of institution. That's nonsense. It's not what racism is. You can't accuse someone of racism because you can't read another person's mind. So the whole concept of racism and the way people have weaponized it, I'm completely in disagreement with it. Alejandro said, how do you go from immigrant to entrepreneur? I'm not an immigrant. And the same way Elon Musk could go from immigrant to entrepreneur, anybody else could, but I'm not an immigrant. So you should ask Elon Musk that question. As a matter of fact, read his books or the book written about him. The guy, what's that guy's name? Walter Isaacson. I think that's his name. I got the book in my library. He wrote a book on Elon Musk. I haven't finished reading it yet. Right now I'm finishing Barack Obama's book, The Audacity of Hope. But the Elon Musk book, Walter Isaacson. He wrote a whole book on Elon Musk. So if you want to know, read that book. So True 3 Noah Seasonings lit up TikTok and work on your game's gift gallery. So thank you, True Noah Seasoning. Appreciate the gifts, sir. Appreciate you. Dina said, we are all from immigrants, but we are products of those who followed the law and did it legally. Yes, technically everybody's an immigrant if we're doing it that way. But everybody, you get what I'm saying when I say I'm not an immigrant. I was born in the United States, as were my parents, as were their parents. Isaiah said, hi from Trinidad. Shout out to Trinidad. Affirmational Amanda said, Trump's dad built the low-income housing across from Coney Island Hospital. Well, yeah, he was a successful entrepreneur. Again, any entrepreneur who has made $1 has to be contributing to society. Again, it's not possible to be a successful entrepreneur without contributing to society. It's impossible. So John said, white people already own and control everything. Not sure your definition of DEI holds up. So, okay, let's say white people control and own everything. That doesn't mean that you can't be successful without DEI. I never got anything because of DEI. And let's say, so if white people control and own everything, John, and I agree with you, how do you explain the success of anybody? I've never gotten hired for anything based on DEI. I've never made $1 because of DEI, not one. And white people control everything. So how do you explain somebody like myself or anyone else? So white people controlling everything according to your frame. I don't agree with your frame, but let's just say your frame is correct. That doesn't mean that you need DEI. That's a non sequitur. One point does not equal the other point. Nice try, though. And I understand where you got this from. I mean, there are a bunch of people who believe this and will completely co-sign it, and they'll come up with very reasonable sounding and good sounding arguments as to why what you said is true, but it's not true. TikTok Time says MSM keeps making you think there is racism. Well, that's their job. If it bleeds, it leads. That's their job, to keep you engaged. So MSM is not based on facts. MSM is based on framing. I told you all this. I've said this like 10 times in this live. The political world and the mainstream media are not focused on facts. They don't care about facts. What they care about is framing. The proper framing gets your attention. It keeps you engaged, and it influences your behavior. That's what politicians care about, influencing your behavior. They don't care about telling you the facts. If you want to learn about facts, go to the library. All right. If you want to learn about framing, watch politicians and watch the mainstream media. That's their job. So many people are focused on facts these days. This is why so many people are confused, is that they get mad. Donald Trump says something. They say, well, we got to fact check what he said. The facts do not matter. The frame matters. Donald Trump has been a successful politician because he's at framing. He's one of the best framers you have ever seen. 30 years from now, framers ever, if you can get out of your emotions. Most people can't get out of your emotions, so you're focused on facts. Nobody cares about facts. And I consider myself to be a very logical person. I had to adjust to this reality. Facts do not matter. TikTok Tom said, read the room. This is value. That's right. Read the room. Focused Westcott said, well said. Thank you. Nilfa Rosales said, liberals can't handle the truth. Well, some of them can't. Some of them can, but a good number of them cannot. So I agree with that. Walden said, what are all the legal ways to immigrate to America, and how does asylum work? Man, you asking me to read a manual? You probably should ask that question to ChatGPT. It'll give you a very compendious and detailed answer. I will not. But take that same question you just wrote there and put it in ChatGPT. It'll tell you exactly what the answer is. Amanda said it's designed for SCOTUS. I don't know what you're referring to. Half Bottle said, I agree with the slow access, but the problem is that how can that be controlled? Well, that's the reason why we have laws. That's the reason why people work in the government to answer that question. I can't answer that question, but that's why people work in the government. Mint said, I showed Chris Paul a video of you laughing, giving advice, and we laughed. Yeah, right. Prove it. JR said, but was she a middle-class kid? Who are you talking about? John said, when's the last time an unarmed white person was shot in this country? All the time. White people get shot every day. You don't see it on the news. Just like black people get shot every day. You don't see it on the news. When white people shoot other white people, it's not news. When black people shoot black people, it's not news. So answer to your question, you might want to ask ChatGPT. You might have an answer for that. Maybe. Alfred Barker, appreciate you. TikTok time. Yeah, I do agree with that, referring to Kamala. You just said, why didn't Donald Trump want to sign a declaration for Martin Luther King? I don't know what you're referring to, so I can't answer that question. Michelle said, this is why you should not watch fake news. Yeah, that's one of the reasons. Those of you who are watching me on TikTok, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'll say that again. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, YouTube. Just in case, because shenanigans happen here on TikTok. Trust me, I've had them happen. So make sure you subscribe to my YouTube. The link is in my profile on TikTok, or just look up my name. My name is Dre Baldwin, D-R-E. My last name is Baldwin, B-A-L-D-W-I-N. Very easy to find. And I'm on every other app, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Rumble, X. I'm on all the apps. Just look my name up. Dre Baldwin, D-R-E-B-A-L-D-W-I-N. Music Destination said TikTok's not in the App Store anymore. Is that true? I didn't know that. Blues fan said, I want to be picked for my qualifications, not because I'm a woman. I think everybody wants it. But actually, no, I don't think everybody wants it. I think some people want to be picked just because of who they are, because it gives them an extra advantage. And if somebody's offering it to you, why not take it? I'm black. If somebody says, look, we gotta give this $50,000 to somebody, and we want everybody to be available, we want it to be open to everybody, or they say we want to give this $50,000 to somebody and we only giving it to a black person, That one gives more opportunity to me because there's less competition. So why would I not take it? So I understand why somebody would be in favor of DEI if it favors them. But at the same time, going to my principles is about performance and earning your spot. I come from the sports world where you can't, DEI doesn't work in sports. Maybe in management and coaching, but on the court or the field, you can't DEI your way to success in sports. You have to actually earn it. You got to actually be able to play. If you can't play, you'll get exposed. That's the world that I come from. Jim Jones said, do I think illegal immigration is good? No, it's illegal. Why would it's something that's illegal be good? No, I don't think it's good. Robin said, thank you for clearing up the rumor mill that is social media. We need more like you on here. Well, thank you. I do my best. Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern, Robin, in case you didn't know. I do these lives Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern. Music said, TikTok app. Oh, I just read that. Do I have a book? Yes. These books you see behind me are all my books. You can get this book right here. This is my most popular book right now. It's called The Third Day. By going to thirddaybook.com. Third Day, spell it out. Thirddaybook.com. The book's free. Just cover the shipping. I'll ship you a physical copy of that red book you see right there. It's called The Third Day. But all these books you see behind me, these are all mine. Matthew said, thank you. Your thought process is appreciated. Well, thank you, Matthew. I'm glad you got value out of it. Christopher said, you ever notice how media only says racist people are white or white people are racist? Yes, that is. Susan said, your version of the 14th Amendment. What are you talking about? Jim said, this dude isn't reading out comments. This is pre-recorded. So I think we already debunked that, Jim. I don't think you can pre-record a live stream on TikTok. I don't think that's possible. Nick Christie said, Native Americans are not immigrants, such a forgotten society. Okay, fine. They are not. By definition, you can't be a native and an immigrant at the same time. That is correct. But they still got their shit taken from them, and that's the way life works. It's not a good thing or a bad thing. It's just what it is. Christopher said, only racist people are white, huh? LOL. I don't think, you're not repeating what I said. I didn't say that, right? Did I? TD said, the audacity of hope, what hope was more like a one-way sacrifice from the people to Obama. Well, that's the title of his book. You get what I'm saying? That's the title of the book. Are independent porn stars, can I say that word? Hopefully. Contributing to society. Some of them make tons of money. Well, it depends. Are they paying taxes? And are they giving people what they want? Well, if they're paying taxes, we don't know. Are they giving people what they want? Yes, they are. Sex work is one of the oldest professions in the world. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm saying, do people pay for it? Yes, they do. So again, you may not like it, but people are paying for it. So Miss Know-It-All said DEI would only choose the best and they will qualify anyway. Many he has some of the highest scores. Miss Know-It-All, stop it. I get what you're trying to do here, but stop it. No. So how can you say you never made $1 because of DEI? It's not like an employer will tell you, well, because I don't have a job. So that's what I mean. Yeet. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm not an employee. So no, I've never made money because of DEI. Blues fan said, truth, you speak the truth. Thank you. Susan, you left that comment like 3 times. What are you referring to? Let's see. Boy Zoo said tunnel vision mindset. What are you referring to? Know-It-All said trying to live at home that is only framed out. Facts do matter. I don't know what you mean by that. Virginia said, my husband and I appreciate your love. Breath of fresh air. Well, thank you, Virginia. Thank you. Shout out to you and your husband. Keisha said, wow, facts do not matter. No, they don't. Facts don't matter. Framing matters. Now, if you happen to have some facts that can support your frame, good. But if you don't, if your frame is strong enough, it doesn't matter. It really does not matter. A lot of people just don't want to accept that. And again, I'm a very logical person. I like facts mattering, but they don't matter. So I had to adjust. Most people don't want to adjust their worldview because they just want things to be the way you want them to be. But you got to adjust. And I'm an entrepreneur. I naturally must adjust. Otherwise, you perish in the entrepreneurial world. You don't adjust. Bunny said, you're going to have to cut your own yard. Those people get deported. LOL. All right, facts. There's a fact for you right there. There's a fact. Now, I'm going to take a couple more questions, folks, then we'll wrap this up. Raymond said, same with Native Americans. You don't see us on the news or able to be involved. Jules said, it was with rock salt. It counts. I got okay, I don't know what you're talking about there. Michelle said, I subscribe. Thank you. Said, what do I think about? I can't give a whole compendious answer on those things. You're asking me about things I'm not talking about. Emails, server fee. Kenny said, What's up, man? What you got on in here? Well, I'm doing my live stream today. We were talking about immigration. I said, do I trade options? No. Tay said, what do I think about Elon's salute? Nah, there's a whole debate going on. There was a funny debate on social media yesterday. Generally, the overall answer is who cares? It doesn't matter. Whether he was doing a salute of the N-word or he wasn't matter. It's not a crime. If he was, and a lot of people saying he wasn't, and some people saying that he was, it doesn't matter. Who cares? That's my answer. That's what I think about it. But it is useful to engage with people on social media, which I did yesterday, going back and forth about it. That was funny, but overall, it doesn't really matter. First time listener, I'm enjoying listening to you. Thank you, TT. Nick said, who's going to win the Super Bowl? Well, my hometown is Philadelphia, PA. I live in South Florida, but my hometown is Philadelphia, so let's go with the Eagles. Book Nerd said, I would like anyone who's against our immigration laws to name a country where you can walk in. There aren't any. There aren't any. I talked about that earlier. MJ McCain says, glad I found you here. We'll be following on all platforms. Thank you, MJ. Glad you found me too. Shout out to the For You page on TikTok. How many of you found me on the For You page from TikTok today? Some days they put me on the For You page and some days they don't. So today I had like 10 times more people than I had in a previous one. But if I knew how to make sure I got on there every time, then I would get on there every time. But I don't control it. So shout out to TikTok for putting me on the For You page today. I can tell when I'm on it and when I'm not. Raymond said, explain how facts won't matter, but the frame does. Framing is about getting people to believe something, whether it is factual or not. Facts are about telling people things that are verifiably true. Two different things. I talked about this at the beginning of the live, Raymond. So if you missed it, watch the replay. It'll be on YouTube. You can watch the whole thing on YouTube. And my YouTube channel is YouTube/@DreB, DREB. My last name is Baldwin, BALDWIN. Warzola said, why doesn't America take Canada or Mexico? Well, it would take a good amount of resources. There's going to be some pushback, but we could take it if we wanted to. Why not? Maybe we don't see a strategic value in it right now, but America could do it if it wanted to. Tay said, what are minorities? Wait, are minorities not in sports, or am I missing something? What do you mean? In sports playing, you have to earn it by your performance, not by your skin color. So that's what you're responding to, just so you understand. Any athlete you see playing a sport professionally had to earn it with performance. You cannot earn it because of your skin color, because your sexual preference, or any of that. You have to actually be able to play. And whatever color you are, the color you are. That's why you see the NBA doesn't have DEI for the players. Why most of the players are black, because those are the best players. So that's how it works. In baseball, you see a whole lot of Latin players. Why? Because they're the best players. That's how it works. In the sports world, it's very clear who the best are, because you can't DEI your way onto the field in sports. In every other industry, you can DEI your way into an opportunity and stay there. In sports, you cannot. That's why my framing comes from my background as an athlete, because it's the closest thing to a meritocracy you will ever see. TT said, you look very professional and speak with common sense. Kudos to your mother. Well, thank you. I will tell her you said that. Miss Know-It-All said, get passports for everyone you love. Make sure they're up to date. That I agree with. That is correct. Where did I hoop? On the basketball court. Nick. Focus Westcott. Thank you. Framing is real. If you can master it, you can get whatever you want. That's 100% correct. Framing is sales, folks. If you want to get good at sales, you got to get good at framing. Facts are generally secondary or worse. Ben said, do I believe in white supremacy? No, I do not. White supremacy is a way of thinking. It's not a behavior. So the only way you can call somebody a white supremacist is you're accusing them of thinking a certain way, but nobody has the ability to read minds. So it's impossible to call someone a white supremacist because you can't read their mind. Let's see. All right. A couple more questions, then we got to go because I got a call coming up at 10 o'clock. It's already 9:56. So a couple people try to say this is pre-recorded. It's a live stream. How can I pre-record a live stream? It's 6 a.m. Eastern on Wednesday, January 22nd, 2025. So there you go. There's your pre-recording. Let's see. All right. I got to take a couple more and then we wrap this up, folks. I do these lives 8 a.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday. So I will be doing another live tomorrow. The topic is to be determined. Alfred Barker, thank you. Appreciate that. Isn't it framing just another term for manipulation? Yes, everything in life is a manipulation. Framing is a form of manipulation, but manipulation is a good thing. All of us manipulate ourselves. How many of you ever had your alarm clock go off and you didn't feel like getting out of bed, but you got out of bed anyway? You manipulated yourself to get out of bed. Manipulation is a form of framing. No, framing is not lying. Framing is about positioning, is about influence and persuasion. Facts are secondary. Facts do not matter. I did a whole live stream on this concept, by the way. So those of you want to hear what I had to say about facts not mattering, I don't have the time to explain it to you here. Go watch the live. I did a whole hour on explaining to you why facts no longer matter. And all of you agree that facts don't matter. It's just that you only care about the facts when the facts support what you want to believe. And when the facts don't support what you want to believe, then you don't mind facts not mattering. It's just people operate with this flexible way of looking at things based on what you prefer. Most human beings, though, don't have the objectivity to admit this. So they want to act like they always think the same way. No human being thinks the same way all the time. We change our rules in our mind based on what we want to achieve. That is literally manipulation. That's literally what framing means. But most humans don't have the ability to step outside of themselves and objectively look at themselves. That's why most people tend to feign as if you are pushing back against what I said. But if you really think about it, you would 100% agree because you are guilty of it. Everybody's guilty of it. So all that said, folks, facts don't matter to anybody. Framing matters. If I give you the right frame that you agree with, you don't care about the facts. If I give you a frame you disagree with, then you care about the facts. That's how it works. All right. All that said, folks, I got to go. I got a call coming up at 10 o'clock. I do these lives Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern. So if you like this one, be back tomorrow. If you hated this one, be back tomorrow. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. The link is in my bio here on TikTok. It's youtube.com/@DreB. All the replays are on YouTube. All the replays are on YouTube. Follow me on X, Rumble, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and I'm missing one. There's one more I didn't say. Whatever it is, YouTube. I'm on all these platforms. I'm live right now in 7 different places. I'm reading TikTok comments, but I'm on all the platforms. I will see you all tomorrow, 8 o'clock Eastern. Work on your game. Be out of here. Shout out to TikTok. Shout out to TikTok. Put me on the For You page today.